Hi everyone, my name is Joshua Charles Dorr, and Marissa's asked me to share an experience that I had, or multiple experiences, I guess, in terms of the coaching work that I've done with Marissa. Hey Marissa, how are you? Sorry that we weren't able to do this in a live discussion. I'm in Melbourne, and as all of you who are based here in Oz know, the time difference between us and the Caribbean is, especially in Melbourne, is not conducive to being aligned at the same kind of sleeping cycles now that we are both parents with and all the rest. So I have some questions here from Marissa specific to our experience, and I'm going to answer them here. So I've got them, and I'll read out the question and just sort of take it from there and tell you what went down and what's happened since. All right, and thanks for listening and to you, Marissa, for having me on. And I know that she sort of shared a little bit of the story before, and people were interested to hear it, and I'm really grateful for that. That's amazing. I'm happy to share it. Okay. And if you're thinking that I have an incredibly elaborate setup for just a quick one-off chat to camera, I run a podcast as well, so I'm super equipped to do this. So it's all worked out quite well. Okay, what were the pain points and reasons you came to me for coaching? Straight out of the gate, it was relationships. I'm pretty, for the most part, a pretty upbeat kind of person pre-therapy. I'm a hell of a lot further down the line now. But the thing that used to cripple me in life the most, more than anything, was failed relationships. More specifically, the relationships where, I was the one being left. And I'd had sort of two in a row, two biggies. And for me, they were debilitating, loss of weight and sleep and extreme anxiety and stress and momentary depression. And I came out of the last one, and I just, you have that moment, right, where it's finally, I've had enough. And not really having any idea how to stop it from being enough. And I knew Marissa, but at that point we didn't know each other very, very well, but I knew that that's what she was into. And so I reached out to her, and she said, well, you can start doing sessions with me. At the time she happened to be in Perth. So, the universe kind of aligned for an ease of transition into something that I probably subconsciously had avoided. Which is bizarre because I have two very, very close friends who are both clinical psychologists and they've known me since I was 17. And I always thought that I was a bit better than therapy because I was never depressed and managed to keep on going, which of course is the trap. Because we are able to manage and still have happy days and what have you, and still feel pretty good. We think that these traumas don't need it. Professional attention. And I'm not sure if I've come up with this anecdote or metaphor myself, or I've heard someone like Marissa say it, but you would never, if you broke a leg or you broke an arm, you wouldn't just let it mend on its own. You'd go and seek help. But with mental health, we have this thing where we think, it's fine. We'll just push it down. So anyways, I reached a breaking point where I just don't want to do it anymore. So the pain points, that was the pain points, is just, I was just wiped out, and the same things just kept happening. Same character traits in the women that I was with, the same way in which it always went down. It was, super passionate and super hot and heavy and all the rest of it, but then it'll be incredibly volatile, and I wasn't up for the volatility. I'm a very, pretty composed, sort of centered, middle of the road person for most of the time. and in relationships, I just wasn't up for that. It just didn't gel for me, and it just used to really upset me. Next question: what happened when you performed techniques with me? What did you experience at the time? I think my first, if I'm recalling correctly, because this was 7 years ago, the first thing that Marissa taught me, I don't know if you would call this a technique, but just a fucking, excuse me, I'm not supposed to swear, a lightning bolt to the brain in just of clarity is she said to me, you don't have to invest energy in this person anymore, right? And this person was baiting me and, sending me abusive text messages and all this kind of stuff, and it was really upsetting me. And she's like, you actually have emotional choice. And I was like, huh? She's like, yeah, you can decide to not feel like this right now. You don't have to let them drain all the energy out of you. You can keep it for yourself. You need it, and I was like, that to me, still to this day, guides me in every decision, and blew my mind. And that was that. I was like, oh. And so instantly I started to implement that. Probably the most effective of the techniques that Marissa and I did in our sessions was, and I don't know the correct nomenclature here, all I remember is we started by writing out all of the bad things that were happening in these relationships in terms of character traits and feelings and what have you. And then we had a discussion about what I felt that I deserved. And another key word. This is what I deserve. And I needed someone who was chill, someone who was kind, compassionate, understanding, all those things that we say that we need in a relationship, but often we put them in the negotiable basket instead of the must-have basket. And that's another conversation that we had. She said, you need to work out what you must have, what you can live without, and what's negotiable. So we wrote out that list as well. And through these lists, we formulated a picture of my dream girl. And we wrote all those character traits down, all the must-haves, all the negotiables, all the can live withouts. And then we created like the perfect place that I might be with this person in my mind. And that was swimming underwater, holding hands, deeply in love, looking at each other. And then from there, we took those notes and we started sort of like slowly jogging up and down this little stretch. And she would tell me to tell her all of the bad stuff about what had just happened. And it was, super heavy and super into it. And then to change my whole, I'm going to just take a tangent here. We used what is called a triad. So to change your physiology, language, and your focus. So we would use all of the triad of feeling bad and investing all this energy into this person, and then we used the triad of and directed it towards the manifestation of my dream partner, the partner I deserved. We just did that backwards and forwards, running, up and down, up and down, up and down. And I can't explain to you why that works, why you didn't come out the end of that having leaned towards the negative, which we so commonly do. But I came out of that completely neurologically changed. I had severed that old pathway and created an entirely new one. And I do remember saying to Marissa at the time, like smiling and giggling and going, I can't feel the bad anymore. I can only feel the good. And it was like was huge. It was really huge. And I haven't been the same since. And I used to get very like worried all the time, like if a partner was gone for an extra 20 minutes or I used to work at sea. So I was away for 5 weeks at a time and I would get really anxious about their safety, all this kind of stuff, all these things that I couldn't control. And since that day on the beach, that was all eradicated. I never felt that again. And I went through like a 50% experience about a year or two later with someone else. And my mind wasn't totally in control of it, but my body still wanted to feel those old things, that sort of cellular retention. And so I was able to manage it. So I could still eat and sleep, but I still felt a bit of the worry. But then, we started working together again, Marissa and I did a lot of release techniques in meditation. And, I was able to get on top of that pretty quickly. And then it's never happened again since. So yeah, as you can see, it's still it was a very powerful day. And one of the things that we did that day when I created that future partner, and we wrote all that stuff down. I'm just looking at a question here to make sure I'm not diving into the question without it being outlined. What has the outcome been, manifestation of Erica, and longer term anxiety shifts that you explained on your podcast? What about health and career were these affected too? So yeah, I'm kind of sliding into the next question. Years later, I met my now wife, and we were about 6 or 7 weeks into the relationship, sort of at that tipping point, which was like 3 weeks further on, or 4 weeks even, than I would have normally started telling someone I loved them. I was always all in. And it was interesting because when I met Erica, she was all the things that I had written in this manifestation, and my body still wanted to reject her because it was completely different. It was so used to this other thing. And I said, well, this means it's right. But we were in Esperance where my sister lives, and I had forgotten about the journal that I had created with Marissa on our session. And the next thing I know, I'm swimming underwater in this beautiful lagoon in this hidden beach, holding hands, looking over. I mean, in my notes, I had also written physical attributes, 5'10", green eyes, blonde hair, really kind to animals, potentially vegan, atheist, supportive of my career, understanding, funny, quirky. She's 5'10", blonde, green eyes, atheist, vegan, massively into animals, very supportive of my career. And I remember looking over and going, oh, that's that. And I never believed in manifestation before. I thought it was just some airy-fairy rubbish that people use to get through the day. And how wrong was I? So the second part of this question is anxiety shifts. Yep. So that was what we talked about with me. And I have no worries or fears around relationships or anything like that, or with my wife at all. And I can tell you that it really has made me have a lot of conviction in my choices, and which can make me probably a little sharp and a little hard at times. But I've been through the ringer, and I know that this works. This isn't just something I've formulated in my mind. This is because since that day on the beach, I've spent the last 7 years, reading about this and researching this almost every day. So it gives you a lot of strength and composure in those harder times that every relationship goes through too. And you can pull the layers back and look at it. I don't want to say analytically in a dispassionate kind of way. This is how this the another great collection of words given to me by my psychologist friend is you want to put yourself into a position where you are lovingly detached. Just let that one soak in, and that is embedded with emotional choice. If you are lovingly detached, you love that person, but you are detached in a way that helps guide and steer you through the tough times. The last thing you want to be is triggered and volatile and ragey and emotional. It's good to feel emotions, and it's good to let things wash over you, but don't let them sabotage your choices and your relationships. And that's what it's really helped me do, is to not. I used to be very passive aggressive in relationships too, and throw down guilt trips and poor me and theatrics and what have you, and they don't serve you. So it's just removed all of that. And I mean, that all happened in one go. I've never had to regulate that. Just a smidge. Like I said, in that relationship a year later, but with my wife, not at all. It's a total thing of the past. My career, at the same time, I decided to become an actor, something that I had been terrified of doing since I was 12. I had started to do, 13. I had started to do a little acting at 13. I changed high schools, and I was bullied for 3 years pretty severely. And being flamboyant and creative was really not how I was going to avoid getting beaten up. So I squashed all of that, and it took me a long time to get over it. And it's not something that we ever covered in our sessions, but it's no mystery that it is heavily related to a complete purge of a lot of just life anxiety, because it's the thing that terrified me the most, aside from the death of someone you love or what have you, was, getting up in front of a room of people and pouring your heart out, in a creative way. So, and I'm still doing it, and I can't imagine that I wouldn't be. What about health and career? Were these affected? Yeah, health. At the time, I think Marissa was still doing PT work, and she really overhauled the way that I trained also, and removed a lot of the bodybuilder type ego stuff that you get caught up in, especially as a man, and took me right back to basics, and that set me on a different course. But I probably would, yeah. That has stayed with me, but that's always been a big part of my life is trying to work that out. Anyways, that was a side thing. I think that's pretty much it. I hope that really, really helps. Yeah. Hey, babe. E. You can see the manifestation here of all of that work. You're going to be on camera if you cross that camera. Hold on a sec. Say hello, everyone. Everyone, this is Layla, and we are very grateful, aren't we, love? And that's where we'll end it. Thanks very much for your time, everyone, and I hope that you got something out of that. Take care.